That's right, Moto fans. I'm not a doctor, but I am a physiotherapist, and this is another Always Moto production. This is our check-in with Cade Clason of Team PRMX Kawasaki, and this is from episode 57 of the Always Moto podcast. Cade speaks openly with myself about his return from injury, and that injury being his punctured lung and broken rib, and how those two injuries didn't actually cause him any pain, but it was actually a lower back injury that's been causing him more restriction than anything else. We also continue our investigation about what's under pro riders' gear. Cade lets us in on what's under his gear and how he thinks it saved him during this most recent injury. This content isn't possible without the support of our show sponsors, Slant Board Guy, Endurance Recovery Boots, and Tech 167 3D Printing. Links to all of those three companies are in the show description below. Discount codes can be heard if you listen to the whole show over on Always Moto Podcast on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. If you like this content, please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. It helps us get more viewers and continue to bring you more and more content. But let's get to our check-in with Cade Clason. All right, guys and girls, joining us this week on the podcast. He's had a little injury recently, but he's managed to come back a little bit quicker than you might expect for this particular injury. It's the Team PRMX, number 68. It's Cade Clason. How are we doing, Cade?
I'm good, man. Just enjoying my time at home.
Yeah. So you got back after the races. I think you said you stayed for a little bit longer in Atlanta afterwards before we could get this interview done.
Yeah, I made some stops on the way home. Spent some time with the family and stuff like that. And so I just got home the other day, but it's always nice to be able to get home and the weather be nice and just be able to chill at home with the dogs.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's nice that you're obviously able to get some family stuff in between all the race duties and stuff too. So that's good. Now, how is the injury side of things for you? Obviously, first race back on the weekend at Atlanta after a broken rib and a punctured lung. How was race day for you?
Yeah, I would say the worst part for me was just the time off the bike, right? I put a lot of time on the motorcycle to try and raise the comfort level. So then when I have to spend 2 weeks sitting on the couch, basically not doing anything, when I get back on the bike, it's pretty tough. My lung and my back weren't even the worst part, my lung and my rib weren't even the worst part. It was my back. How I crashed, I messed up my back and my hip, and it was really uncomfortable for me. It just would get really, really tight.
So you actually sort of had a couple of more complications than just that sort of chest area there, which I gather you're talking lower back at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. Like, everyone's kind of mind blown when I say that, but like, a broken rib, it really the rib hasn't bothered me at all. My lung hasn't bothered me at all since I got my chest tube out and stuff like that. It's just, it's been, I feel like a 9-year-old man trying to stand up. It's quite uncomfortable, but I'm working through it.
That's the comment that anybody that's had a back pain will know oh too well, because that first day or so afterwards, you're like that hunched over 9-year-old man. You can't straighten up. You can't reach your toes. It's a shit of a time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, exactly.
So you're saying like that the rib itself to ride, like you rode within about 2 weeks from the injury itself. You're saying that the rib and the lung aren't really giving you any trouble?
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy to me too. I was quite nervous. I rode about a week and a half from when I got out of the hospital, kind of test it out and see if I could race on the weekend. And I went out, rode for 10 minutes and came back in, and I was like, man, honestly, the only thing that hurts is my back. Like, my rib didn't hurt, and I even cased some stuff, just being my timing was off a little bit.
Yep.
And it was very surprising, to say the least. And then even this weekend, I got taken out by 2 other riders, 2 separate occasions.
Nice.
Just kind of leveled.
Yep.
And hit the ground. And I was pleasantly surprised at how well my body took it. Just then moving on to the main, it's a long day and a lot of riding, and I could feel my back starting to tighten up early in the main. And I was trying to manage it and stuff like that, but I just knew how much progress I had made just in 3 or 4 days. And I didn't want to, take 50 steps backwards heading into this week and this weekend.
Yeah, well, you still got a few more races to go, and obviously, it's nice to make the main and get a result. But if it's going to be at the detriment of the next 3 races, let's say, it's probably not a good idea to push yourself for that, later stages of the main event and those tail end positions, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's not worth it. I didn't have the pace or the strength to battle with the guys I normally battle with. So the difference between, what it was, I was in 21st, I probably would have finished 20th or 21st. So the difference for that is not worth, the pain it would cause the rest of the time.
Yeah, definitely. Now, so obviously you're saying lower back, but the lung capacity side of itself, like obviously with the punctured lung, collapsed lung, you didn't have any issues with, actual lung capacity and then like obviously your heart rate, trying to get the oxygen into the body. That's not been an issue for you either?
No, I've had like a little bit of like sharp chest pain, like up like at the top of my lung. But like they were pretty surprised. They bring in this little like device that you kind of have to suck air through to try and strengthen your lung and to make sure that you're able to get full capacity. And they were pretty mind blown at how even the very first time I used it, like I was so far ahead of like anyone they'd ever seen use it. And by the end of the first day, I was completely maxing out the thing that they gave me.
Just pulling the superhuman recovery, mate. That sounds like.
I don't know. It was weird, man. It was a weird feeling. Like because I drove myself to the hospital. Like I got up on the track, my buddy and my mechanic offered to drive me. I'm like, no, like I'll be okay. Like, I left my dogs with my mechanic and I just, I drove myself to the hospital. And when I got there, it just felt like I had like this huge, like someone was giving me like the gnarliest bear hug of all time.
Yeah. Okay.
And yep. I just couldn't quite breathe. And then they put me on oxygen. And honestly, once they put me on oxygen, like I felt like pretty normal. I just was uncomfortable because I had a broken bone in my chest. But other than that, I felt normal pretty fast. The 3.5, 4 days.
Like
it was crazy. Like I was uncomfortable for sure, but the chest tube caused more pain than anything. I hated having that thing for, basically 3 days. It was miserable. It hurt, made my shoulder hurt so bad because they said it was in my chest like 8 inches.
Yeah. Yep. They got to pierce obviously a couple of layers to get through. Obviously the ribs are, so thick, and then they've got to get through the couple of pleural layers to get into the actual section of the lung that they need to reinflate. So yeah, it does go in a fair bit.
And the guy that did it, I mean, like he did a good job. He whatever numbed up my skin. Like I was wide awake for it. And then he's like, all right, you're going to feel this pop. And that's my finger going between your 2 ribs. I'm like, what? And he did, man. You hear this loud pop and he shoves his finger between 2 of your ribs. And that's how he like makes a hole for the tube. And I'm just like, I never thought I would experience this right now.
No, it's not what my day was meant to be when I woke up this morning. You're saying, yeah, it's going to get a finger in the chest. Yeah, literally.
It was the day after my anniversary and the day before I was supposed to leave for our anniversary vacation. So it didn't turn out the way I wanted to that day.
I bet the wife was happy about all that too. Yep.
Oh, she was stoked to stay in the van for 3 days with the dogs.
Oh, look, silver linings, mate. So you got to look at it positively somehow. So with all that, like obviously you're saying that side of the main parts of the injury that you had weren't affecting you, but I'm assuming the doctors were still probably from the lung side of things saying to you, don't, return for a certain period of time. Did you come back quicker than what they were recommending to physically exert yourself?
Oh, 100%.
Usual moto answer there. Yep. 100%. I came back way earlier than I should have.
The doctors in the hospital they didn't really understand what I did. They thought I was just kind of, you're a regular guy that crashed on a dirt bike, just playing around. And one of the nurses actually said she like looked me up when she found out what I did, kind of got a better gist of it. And they told me, they're like, look, like you can't fly. Like you cannot fly to Phoenix.
No. Yeah.
And race. Cause like So that was honestly like the main reason I didn't go to Phoenix to begin with. Like I had considered going to Phoenix and maybe riding, but when they told me they really didn't want me flying because that change in pressure can actually recollapse your lung, I was like, that's a little bit different because it's out of my control. No need to get a plane grounded because my chest, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to ride, come Saturday anyways. So even if I would have gone, I wouldn't have raced. But yeah, then that Monday I went and saw my like regular doctor, and she's like, I can't believe like you have no pain when I push on your chest. You're breathing fine. Like you can do whatever you want because I know you're going to. I don't recommend you crash a dirt bike out of the air and land on your side because you're probably going to redo this whole process. But she's like, you seem like fine. I was like, okay. So I went for it.
Fair enough. Was that decision then, like obviously the medical information's there and you take that seriously, but was this driven at all by like, financial points in the championship, or that I've been wondering a little bit for some of these injuries now, whether that end of season super motocross qualification side of things is crossing people's minds about when they're trying to make a return for. Did any of that come into play for you? Is just the fact that you felt ready and you went racing?
A little bit of both, right? For myself to make money, I obviously get paid from the team and from the series. So, but I have to be at the races competing to do that.
Yeah.
And this is what I do for a living. So, I wanted to be out there earning a paycheck and doing the best that I can. And yeah, I would like to get qualified for that SMX stuff. It's not looking super promising for me at the moment, but the more points I get, the more promising it is. So that is obviously weighing on it. I would like to do some of them if I can. So we're just, we're going to have to just score as many points as we can here at the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, we've got 5 rounds, whatever is it left. I can't do my math here today. We've messed our time up a little bit on my part because of my math, and now I can't add up how many rounds we got left.
Yeah, we got 4 more.
4 more. There we go. All right, sweet. Yeah. So yeah, you got a few more chances to get, hopefully, a few points to throw towards that qualification. But yeah, it seems to me like that's a way of keeping guys, that one where they would get a little injury and then they would sit out all the way to the end of Supercross because they weren't in it anymore, but the motocross might be a chance for them. So they'd sit out for longer. But I saw this super motocross thing as a way of bringing those riders back in, at least for 3 or 4 races that they probably well and truly can do. Just wondering if that's starting to play a bit of a factor at this time of the year.
It definitely will at some point, but I think like the top guys, they'll score enough points in one series to qualify. It's honestly more guys like myself, that are going to be bubble guys. You know what I mean? That are going to need those extra points.
Yeah, I think that 15 to 25 range is the guys that are sort of getting a few points, but not heaps of points. That if they miss 5 to 10 races, it's going to make an impact as whether they qualify or not. So yeah, they're the ones that are probably, hopefully, we're going to see them coming back and doing more with it. But yeah, just an interesting point. I thought this year might be a change in how long some of these recovery times, take on the surface of when they come back to the race. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, totally.
All right. One last question for you, Cade. We've gone through those injury side of things, and a little bit of our side of topic point is always injury recovery and fitness and training. But to prevent some of that stuff, it's about what you've got on the body and racing with. But we always try and ask the interviewed riders what you've got on underneath your gear. So whether you're in those braces or knee pads, or maybe there's something strange that you're wearing under your gear as a protection or preventing to scuff, rubbing marks. What's under your gear, Cade?
So I've worn Mobius knee braces for a long time now. Basically, I tore my ACL and meniscus in 2015, and I've worn Mobius knee braces ever since then. I didn't get my knee fixed, and I don't know if I'd ever wear anything else now. I love those knee braces. They make me feel super secure, and you can adjust them to, obviously fit you, because they're not like custom fitted CTIs or anything like that.
No, they're pretty good with the padding inside, aren't they, to change thicknesses, and then obviously they got the tightening dial on the top for part of it to pull it in nice and tight. So they work really reasonably nicely to fit onto you.
Yeah, they don't slide down or anything like that. And then they also have the hyperextension thing, so if you want it to make it so you can't straighten it as much. So yeah, they've got some cool features. And then actually just last year I started wearing a Fox chest protector.
Okay.
The under one. You have to wear a chest protector to race like FIM events overseas.
Yes.
So I started wearing it for that, and I love it. And now I actually wear like Fox boots. So now they actually gave me some because the first one we went out and boxed. It was just super comfy. So yeah, I actually really, really enjoy that Fox chest protector. And I honestly kind of thank it for, me not being hurt worse. How I crashed was pretty gnarly. And had I not had something on, it probably would have been worse.
Well, that's an interesting comment you make there. It's sort of, I always think about, we seem to get a fair few rib and lung injuries from the stats that I keep. That seems to happen quite often. And I always wonder whether the chest, the chest pros are actually, one, protecting the right area, or two, if they're just not being worn in practice and stuff, because that's sort of common seen as where they're happening. So interesting you say that you actually maybe got off lighter than you could have because you were wearing it.
Well, it's just they have that really, like, it's almost like a gel material on the back, that orange pad. I think Alpine Stars has a similar type of pad on the back of their chest protector as well. And it's just like, I'm sure that it had to take a lot of the impact out of, because I basically flipped, landed on my head, and then slapped onto my back.
Yeah. Okay.
And I broke my rib in like the back under my shoulder blade.
Yep.
So it's, I would just assume that it helped more than than it would have hurt.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with that. If you didn't have that on there at all, you'd be a lot sorer for it, and maybe that would have been 3 or 4 broken ribs rather than just one. So yeah.
Exactly. So, and like I said, I got lucky because I haven't worn a chest protector full time in probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Well, good timing to have it on now when you had that sort of a crash. So yeah, I'm assuming it's staying then put now for the rest of your career.
It's staying there for the time being. Yes, sir.
Fair enough. Well, look, Cade, awesome to talk to you. Good to see that recovery has gone really, really well for you. And I'm surprised that how some of those things aren't causing you any pain and that you're able to be back on track. And hopefully this week's a fair bit better than Atlanta, but at least you're able to be at Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm hoping that as my back pain goes away, the other things don't start to hurt more. One's covered. But yeah, I'm happy to be out there. And yeah, thanks for the talk.
No, I appreciate it, Cade. Thanks for joining us on the AlwaysMoto Podcast.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.